The shocking truth about the cursed boots from the deep web haunts you at 3 a.m. forever. In the deep corners of the internet, where light fears to tread, whispers of a pair of boots have become the stuff of nightmares. They are said to be curse-crafted from the hides of creatures that never existed, adorned with grotesque charms that seem to shimmer with an otherworldly glow. If you dare to wear them, it's believed that your life will spiral into chaos, and you'll be haunted at 3 a.m. every night by the echoes of their former owner, a figure shrouded in regret and despair. Imagine your sleep shattered by the sound of heavy footsteps, echoing through the darkened halls of your home, a reminder that something ancient has found its way back to you. But that's not the only detail swirling around these notorious boots. They were uploaded onto a shadowy marketplace, described with promises of power and whispers of doom by users with usernames long forgotten. The seller claimed the boots grant the wearer unparalleled strength, allowing them to break through any barrier, physical or emotional. A 5-star review read, "Once you slip them on, nothing can stop you except the nightmares. It's like dancing with death every night." Can you feel your heart racing? Then there's the last known owner, a student named Ellie, whose face was once so full of dreams. After wearing the boots just one time, she vanished from her college dorm without a trace. Friends report hearing her voice at night, soft but filled with panic, calling out for help from outside their windows. Each account carries a shaking fear, gripping the throats of those who dared to listen. What spun her into the abyss? What horrors did she witness? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect, as the legend of the cursed boots continues to haunt the curious. Tales of those who dared to wear them grow darker. Rumors say if you find them, you can hear their whispers at night, lead you to places you never meant to go. What if, just what if, they are closer than we think? What secrets lie just beneath the surface, waiting to wrap around your heart like a vice? Are you brave enough to follow the path? The air felt thick with anticipation as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an eerie glow across the college campus. Sarah, one of Ellie's closest friends, had been investigating the mystery of the cursed boots for weeks. She had spent countless nights scrolling through forums, piecing together fragmented accounts of Ellie's disappearance and the nightmares that followed. The deeper she dug, the more unsettling it became. On a whim, Sarah decided to visit the old dormitory where Ellie had lived, driven by an aching desire to understand what had happened to her friend. Each step echoed in the empty corridor, and her heart raced in rhythm with the rapid beating of her thoughts. She reached Ellie's old room, its door slightly ajar, as if inviting her in. Biting her lip, Sarah pushed the door open. The room smelled musty, remnants of Ellie's unfinished life lingering in the air. She glanced around the desk cluttered with old textbooks, the bed rumpled and untouched. But what caught Sarah's eye was a wickedly beautiful pair of boots, half hidden under the bed. Heart racing, she approached them. They were even more enchanting up close, their dark leather shimmering under the flickering light. As her fingers brushed against the satiny surface, a chill shot up her spine. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, breaking the silence. The screen lit up with a message from a number she didn't recognize. "Leave them alone, or suffer the same fate." Panic surged within her, but curiosity tugged at her heart. Ignoring the warning, Sarah took a deep breath and leaned in closer, peering around to ensure she was alone. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps echoed behind her. She spun around, eyes wide, but the hallway remained empty. Just her imagination, or was it? She could be sworn she heard a faint murmur, a soft plea resonating through the walls, echoing her name. Sarah, the voice chilled her to the bone. It sounded exactly like Ellie. Ellie? Is that you? She whispered, her voice trembling. No response came, just oppressive silence pressing in. A deep unease twisted in her stomach, urging her to leave. But the boots shimmered, almost beckoning her. They were captivating yet sinister. What have you seen? She murmured, unsure if she sought answers from the boots or Ellie. The thought of wearing them gripped her, a pull so intense it was like an addiction. The legend swirling around them spun in her mind, power, strength, and the promise of facing fears. But at what cost? As if in answer, the temperature dropped, and the lights flickered ominously. Sarah's breath hitched in her throat. She could now hear the distinct sound of footsteps, the heavy, deliberate kind. They thudded closer and closer, fighting the urge to run. Sarah felt a sudden rush of bravery. She needed to know more. With trembling hands, she reached for the boots. The ground shook, and the wall seemed to pulse around her as she slipped her foot into one of the boots. The moment it settled, a burst of energy coursed through her, flooding her system with power, yet it felt wrong, twisted somehow. The whispers grew louder, merging into a cacophony of despair. Help me, Ellie's voice cried out once more, wrapping around Sarah like a vice. Before she could grasp the enormity of her choice, the door slammed shut, plunging her into darkness. Panic flared, and she clawed at the door, screaming for help. But that was silenced by the haunting echo of laughter that resonated in the void. What had she done? As she battled against the forces that swirled around her, a question echoed louder than all others. Would she be able to break free from the curse, or would she, too, disappear like Ellie? And somewhere, in the depths of the night, the clocks began to chime. 3 a.m. was drawing near. The darkness enveloped Sarah, pressing against her skin like 1,000 icy fingers. Shadows danced across the room, swirling in erratic patterns as if possessed. With her heart pounding in her ears, she fought against the weight of fear closing in around her. "Let me out!" she screamed, her voice barely audible over the oppressive silence. She slammed her shoulder against the door, but it held firm, seemingly impervious to her desperation. Each second stretched into eternity, making her feel both fragile and fierce. The boots anchored her in a strange, intoxicating way, yet they emanated a darkness she had never known. Shadows flickered at the edges of her vision, and she felt the whispers clawing at her mind, asking for release. Suddenly, a pulse of energy surged through her, and visions danced behind her eyelids. She saw Ellie, her friend's desperate face wreathed in shadows, pleading silently through the veil of time. "Help me," the plea echoed, haunting and desperate. "Ellie! I'm here!" Sarah cried out, the tears of helplessness spilling down her cheeks. But as she opened her eyes, she blinked away the tears and saw something ominous lurking in the corner of the room, a figure cloaked in darkness, its face obscured. "Sarah," the figure whispered, a voice eerily similar to Ellie's but twisted, like a corrupted echo. The air thickened with dread, wrapping around Sarah like a vice. "No! Stay back!" she screamed, stepping back until her back pressed against the hard surface of the door. A feeling of dread so profound gripped her heart, weighing it down. The figure stepped forward, revealing hollow eyes filled with darkness that seemed to devour light. In a sudden rush of resolve, Sarah turned her focus back to the cursed boots. "If I have to face this, I want to do it alone," she shouted, summoning every ounce of strength. She wrenched the other boot off the floor and slipped it on, instantly feeling a surge of energy that was both liberating and terrifying. Visions flooded her mind again, but this time they came not as whispers, but as screams. "Join us, don't fight it." The voices of countless souls reverberated through her, a cacophony that tugged at her will, urging her to submit. "No! Sarah fought against the tide, the energy coursing through her becoming a double-edged sword. As she swayed between power and despair, the dark figure lunged for her. Startled, she spun around, her body instinctively infusing the shadows with her will. A bright light flared from the soles of the boots, momentarily illuminating the damp room. The figure shrieked, a sound that shattered the stillness and filled Sarah with even more resolve. "I won't let you take me," she yelled defiantly. With a force she didn't know she possessed, Sarah focused on Ellie, calling her spirit forth. "Ellie, if you can hear me, help me. Let us break this curse together." The boots began to vibrate violently, shaking her to her core while the shadow figure recoiled, twisting and writhing as it lost its grip on the physical realm. But just as she felt Ellie's presence surge, the room shifted violently, blurring the lines between reality and nightmare. The walls pulsed, and the laughter from shadows rose like a tide, threatening to drag her under. Would she stand strong enough to unite with Ellie, or was she destined to be another lost soul trapped within the curse? In that instant, a whisper teased the corners of her mind, a fragment of an ancient warning. The power comes with a price. Just as she grasped the warning, the clock struck 3. A chime echoed through the surreal chaos, reverberating with promises of truth and terror. What would she find in this cursed moment? Would the ghosts of the past reclaim her, or would she find the strength to confront the darkness? Time was running out, and the final confrontation was looming dangerously close. The vibrations from the boots rattled through the floor, a relentless pulse against the backdrop of chaos. Shadows howled around her, the air thickening with sorrow and despair. Yet, within Sarah, a fire ignited. She was more than scared, she was furious. "I will not be trapped here," she shouted, her voice echoing against the walls that seemed to close in tighter. The figure melted back into the darkness, but lingered, its haunting eyes burning into her soul. "You cannot escape," it hissed. "You were chosen." "Chosen for what?" she demanded, challenging the void. Anger surged in her veins, fueling her resolve, blurring the line between fear and power. Every scream that echoed in her mind twisted into focus, intensifying her awareness of her own strength. As the clock struck 3 again, the sound reverberated like a shot fired in an empty hall, shattering spaces of silence. In that moment of eerie stillness, a memory broke through the fog of dread. It was a memory of laughter, of sunlight cutting through trees, of Ellie pulling her into an impromptu dance in the park, carefree and alive. "You can't hold onto me forever." "Ellie?" The name slipped from her lips, a timid whisper that fought against the tempest of noise surrounding her. Just then, a flicker of hope ignited in Sarah's chest. If Ellie could reach her, then they could fight together. The figure roared in frustration as Sarah focused on the memory, drawing Ellie's essence from beyond the veil. "I command you to reveal yourself," she cried, and the boots pulsed, radiating light that clawed through the shadows. Her soul surged, enveloped in golden warmth that pushed back against the darkness. "Help me, Ellie!" From the depths of the dark mass, a form began to materialize, ethereal yet heart-wrenchingly familiar. It was Ellie, but she bore the marks of anguish, her expression stricken with both pain and determination. "Sarah!" she cried. "I'm here. We must link our strength." With that declaration, their minds intertwined like a tightly wound rope. The shadows screeched as they twisted and shivered, a primal fear responding to the unity of their spirits. "We are stronger together," Sarah roared, feeling the energy locked within her flow between them like sacred lightning. The dark figure screamed, the sound ripping the air apart. "You cannot escape your fate," it wailed, but something profound had shifted. Sarah's heart raced with a cold realization the curse was not just a trap. It was a force fed by fear and despair. With each moment the two friends joined their wills, it weakened. "Remember who we are." Ellie's voice rang bright, breaking through the chaos. With a push of will, and an electrifying flash from the boots, they sent out a shockwave, piercing the darkness that tried to ensnare them. The room trembled, the shadows writhing as if caught in a storm. But just as victory felt tantalizingly close, the walls began to shudder, cracking under the strain of their newfound power. Terrifying shadows spiraled down from above, converging into a colossal mass that threatened to swallow them whole. "Stick together. We can't let it pull us apart," Sarah shouted, clutching Ellie's spirit tightly. Heart racing, they dug deep within themselves for every ounce of courage, forging their connection tighter, determined to expose the truth behind the curse. With a deafening roar, they embraced the storm, ready to unleash a force that could either destroy or set them free. But as they called on every fragment of their beings, dread seeped back into Sarah's mind. The bones of the curse were deeper than she could imagine. What hidden horrors awaited them in this final confrontation? As the shadows loomed larger, Sarah felt the ground beneath her tremble. Their battle was just beginning. As the ground quaked and the very air thickened with darkness, Sarah felt an electric charge racing down her spine. The shadows writhed, their forms shifting in grotesque patterns, as if they were alive and hungry for more than just her fear. She and Ellie were bound tighter now, the essence of their friendship illuminating their shared determination. "Focus! We need to push back," Ellie urged, her voice strained yet fierce. The shadows pulsated, keeping time with the rapid beat of Sarah's heart. The dark figure loomed above them, its shape a swirling mass of despair and rage. "Your defiance only strengthens my hold on you," it thundered, the floor vibrating beneath its presence. "You are trapped in a cycle that will never end." "No!" Sarah cried, her voice rising above the cacophony. "You think you can control us? We are more than your puppets." With that declaration, she could feel the boots beneath her trembling, resonating with her rebellious spirit. They glowed fiercely, a shimmer of golden light initiating a banishing energy. The shadows shrank back, a primal fear coursing through them. But the dark figure roared once more, its voice cutting into her resolve like ice. "You don't understand the darkness you're dealing with. You stand on the brink of oblivion." That hit home. Sarah felt a twinge of doubt creep into her heart, gnawing at her courage. What if it was right? What if there was no escape? But then she remembered Ellie's laughter, their shared moments of joy. Those were her anchors, reminding her of the light in the overwhelming pain. "Ellie," she whispered, more to herself than to her friend. "We can break this together." "Yes," Ellie urged, her spirit glowing brighter, as if summoning the strength of every joyful moment they shared. "Let us show it what we're made of." Together, they channeled their anger and love, unleashing a wave of pure energy. The room erupted in blinding light, illuminating every corner of darkness, making the shadows shriek and recoil. But the dark figure wasn't finished. It surged forward, a horrifying mass of claws and teeth. "I will consume you both," it bellowed, lunging, but Sarah wouldn't let fear swallow her. She raised her arm, the boots radiating a fierce golden glow. "Not today." In that instant, Sarah felt a surge of power coursing through her, a force greater than she could ever have imagined. It wrapped around her and Ellie, connecting their spirits like a supernova. "Now!" Sarah shouted, and they thrust their joined hands forward. The release of energy shot out like a laser beam, blasting through the figure. A deafening scream erupted as the shadows writhed, losing their form and dissolving into a mist of dark smoke. But just as the figure began to collapse, it let out a final, chilling promise. "You think you've won? Your nightmares are only beginning." Sarah's heart dropped. A wave of dread washed over her, suffocating the fleeting taste of victory. What had she awakened? As the last remnants of the figure slipped away, leaving only echoes in the air, Sarah felt the world around her grow quiet. Then, a whisper reached her ears, almost drowned out by the silence. "You've released one darkness, but there are many more with horror gripping her. She turned to Ellie, ready to confront whatever came next. "What does this mean?" Sarah gasped, fear now transforming into an urgent need for answers. But Ellie's form flickered, her expression turning one of concern mixed with hope. "They will come for us, Sarah. We're not done yet." With the terrifying truth beginning to unfold, Sarah knew that their fight was far from over. What awaited them in the depths of the next chapter? Would they have the strength to face the new horrors closing in? The silence hung heavily between them, taut with unsaid fears and unbidden doubts. Sarah's heart thundered in her chest, each beat echoing with the words of dark promise from the figure they had fought so hard to push away. "What do you mean there are many more?" she pressed, her voice squeezing out of her throat. Ellie's expression was a mix of concern and resolution. We've tapped into something powerful. If we can summon that energy, it means there are more forces out there like what we just faced, forces that feed off our fear and despair. We need to be careful. But how? How do we fight them? Panic crept into Sarah's tone, clawing at her resolve. We barely made it through that one. A low rumble rippled through the ground beneath them, shaking the very walls of their reality. The room began to flicker, shadows stirring with newfound energy, clawing to break free. "They're coming," Ellie whispered, panic reflecting in her wide eyes. "I want to go down without a fight," Sarah declared, the fire igniting once more within her. She could feel the residue of the battle still lingering on her boots, the fading glow reminiscent of the power they had harnessed. With a swift movement, she kicked away the remnants of what had been. "Whatever else is out there, we face it together." Suddenly, a piercing laugh cut through the air, a discordant symphony of malice, echoing like wind chimes in a storm. The shadows coalesced, forming grotesque shapes that danced around them, flickering like candlelight in a full blast of wind. "You think you are free of me?" the voice hissed. "My brethren thrive in the void you've awakened. You will suffer for your insolence." With a flick of her wrist, Sarah summoned the booth's remaining light, a burst of golden energy reflecting off the walls. "You don't know us," she shouted defiantly, channeling everything she felt into that moment, her fears, her anger, but most of all, her hope. One of the cloaked shadows lunged toward her, a monstrous claw flaring out. Sarah reacted on instinct. With a quick twist, she propelled the energy toward the creature, and it screeched, wrenching back as it struck. But that moment of triumph was fleeting. The air thickened, and more shadows poured through dim crevices, multiplying until they surrounded both girls. "No! We can't be trapped!" Ellie screamed, her voice barely rising above the chaos. "You can't escape this. You've opened the door," taunted the dark laughter. Sarah clenched her fists, fighting back against the fear threatening to grip her heart anew. "Think, Sarah," she hissed to herself, remembering what they had just done. They had broken one darkness. They were stronger together. She reached for Ellie, locking fingers tightly. "We need to combine our strength," Sarah shouted, channeling every last piece of light within them. "Together, we can push them back." They began to generate energy again, greater this time, flowing like a river of gold between them, illuminating their surroundings. The dark figure shrieked, pulling back, but it wasn't enough. More shadows kept piling in, a relentless tide, eager to consume. Suddenly, an idea struck Sarah. "We can't just push them away. We need to seal the door." Ellie's eyes widened, realizing the implication. "How?" "This void is their domain. If we channel all our energy right here, we might make a barrier strong enough to hold them back." Sarah grinned, hope threading through her fear. "Okay. Let us do it," Ellie shouted. But just as they locked their resolve, a shriek pierced the air, one more anguished than the rest. Sarah turned, eyes widening as she realized it wasn't a shadow, it was someone trapped within, a figure writhing in agony. "No! We can't leave them!" Ellie cried out, her hand reaching toward the entity. But Sarah hesitated, wrestling with the choice. What if it's a trap? The figure's eyes met hers, radiating fear and despair. "Help me, please," it whispered, voice haunting her. Time stood still, the weight of a moral choice hanging heavy in the air. Could they risk everything for one soul, knowing the threat that loomed all around them? "Sarah, we have to act now," Ellie urged, the shadows inching closer. "Do we save them, or do we protect ourselves?" Sarah's mind raced, every moment weighing down like concrete. With the shadows threatening to smother them, she must decide before they lost everything. Would they sacrifice their safety for a chance at salvation? The ground trembled beneath them, the air crackling with impending doom. Moments away from either a rescue or disaster, which path would they choose? Would helping the trapped figure ignite a greater darkness? The choice loomed before them, desperate and urgent. Which path would they take? The shadows pulsed with a haunting rhythm, echoing Sarah's racing heartbeat. Each moment stretched thin, a taut wire about to snap. She looked at Ellie, their fingers gripping tightly. "This isn't just about us. We can't ignore that person." Ellie's expression shifted, fighting against her instinct to flee. "But what if it becomes a trap? We don't know what we're dealing with." "Then we figure it out together. Always together." Before Ellie could respond, the figure in the shadows let out another choked cry, desperately reaching out, fingers slender and pale against the darkness. It was a soul trapped, clinging to life, caught within the clutches of the unseen horror. "Help me, please," the figure rasped again, a whisper that floated in the chaos. It cut through the dark, a thread of humanity woven into the realm of nightmares. "Okay," Ellie finally breathed out, determination washing over her. "Let us do it." Sarah took a deep breath, tying her resolve to Ellie's. They focused their intertwined energy, feeling the flickers of warmth push back the shadows momentarily. The oppressive air shimmered with gold, giving them a moment to breathe, but just a moment. "Now!" Sarah commanded, voicing a silent hope that they could withstand the darkness. As one, they reached toward the struggling figure. The shadows lashed back with renewed fury, clawing at them, desperate to reclaim their prize. Sarah could feel the cold tendrils wrapping around her legs, tightening like iron shackles. Panic clawed up her throat, but she forced herself to believe. "Hold strong," she shouted, feeling Ellie's resolve surge beside her. They pushed forward, combining their luminescent energy to form a protective barrier around the figure. Glimmers of light shot out, momentarily illuminating the space, battling back the gnarled hands of the dark that twisted around them. The isolated figure looked up, eyes shimmering with both relief and fear. "Hurry, they'll come for you too. Just a little further." Ellie strained, her voice cracking as their energy waned. The shadows screamed as they felt the warmth penetrating their territory. "You cannot protect them. You will pay dearly for your insolence." "Not today," Sarah yelled, sheer will fueling her strength. But as the shadows writhed more violently, their own energy began to falter. The barrier crackled under pressure, dimming as the dark forces intensified. "Sarah, they're too strong." Ellie's voice quivered. The shadows surged forward, a tidal wave ready to crash over them. Just a little longer. But doubt slipped in, ink-black tendrils. What if it was a trap? What if this soul was just a puppet, willing to sacrifice them for freedom? She turned again to the figure. "Can you help us? Fight with us?" "It's too late for that," the figure hissed, its voice suddenly low and twisted. The shadows pulsed and grew, their hunger insatiable, echoing around them. "What?" Sarah felt the ground drop beneath her as the figure morphed, revealing a face she couldn't quite recognize, but felt bound to an echo of her own fears. "Submit to the shadows, or they will consume you both." "No!" Ellie screamed, but it was too late. the energies around them began to shift. The shadows roared, awakening with an undeniable fury, and the once distant void grew closer and closer. "This isn't over," Sarah cried, clenching her fists again, drawing more power from the fear lingering within her. "We will fight." But just then, the shadows surged, a wave crashing over them. Sarah felt the rush of cold seep into her bones, dimming her light, choking her hope. "Together," she shouted through gritted teeth, wrestling against the darkness. The figure smiled, eyes glinting with something both sorrowful and sinister. "You may find your friend lost forever." Then, in a flash of despair, the boundaries of their reality began to unravel around them, shadows spilling out like ink from a broken pen. Would they succumb, trapped forever in this void? Or could they enact the change once more, igniting light against the depths of despair? Just when hope began to flicker, a blinding light flickered and surged from Sarah, propelling them momentarily free from the clutch of shadows. But as the shadows receded, they both turned and saw the figure slip further into the abyss, the last shred of hope dissolving into darkness. As the ground trembled, shaking violently beneath them, Sarah and Ellie realized they needed a new plan. They could not rely on their own powers alone. "Where do we go from here?" Ellie asked, fear weaving through her voice. There was a choice to be made, new uncertainty lingering. Sarah's heart raced as she looked back to where the shadows roiled and churned. "We find the source of their power. If we can locate it, maybe we can end this." But as they prepared to move, a chilling whisper slithered through the air, echoing around them. "You think you're stronger than the darkness? You haven't seen anything yet." With the face of the wretched figure etched into her memory, Sarah turned back, eyes narrowing with determination. They had awakened something terrible, and now they had to confront it. But at what cost? The shadows crept in again, dark and hungry, wrapping them in uncertainty once more. What lay ahead was a dance with deeper despair, or maybe the path to salvation they desperately needed. But only time would reveal if they could withstand the truth that loomed ahead, waiting to consume them whole. The shadows writhed, a living tapestry of despair pulling at the edges of Sarah and Ellie's resolve. The air thickened again, heavy with tension, as the chilling whisper echoed in their minds, drowning out rational thought. Sarah's fingers trembled as she clutched Ellie's hand tighter. "We have to keep moving," she urged, her voice barely above a whisper, fighting against the suffocating darkness surrounding them. Ellie's eyes darted, searching for any sign of hope amongst the swirling shadows. "What if it's all a lie? What if we're walking right into their trap? Then we face it together." Burning determination ignited in Sarah's chest. "We've come this far." The shadows around them pulsated and hissed, a sinister amusement resonating through the cold air. It felt as if the darkness had a presence, almost sentient, alive and feeding on their fear. "Foolish girls," it rasped, the sound slithering through the space between them. "You cannot escape the truth." "What truth?" Sarah yelled, not allowing the darkness to see her falter. "Show yourself." A gust of wind circled them, constricting and tearing at their flesh. Shadows twisted, distorting their surroundings into a nightmarish landscape. Desolate trees with bark like coal loomed over them, twisted faces etched with pain and sorrow peering from the darkness. Eyes blinked open, revealing vulnerability entwined with terror. "Choose wisely," the voice echoed, now deeper, more menacing. "Face the darkness, or forever be bound to its agony." A flickering light emerged from Sarah's core, a desperate reflection of their unity. "We want to submit. We choose to fight for each other," she declared, feeling Ellie's grip strengthen beside her, a mingling of their energies igniting hope amidst chaos. But doubt clawed back, its grip icy and familiar. What if this defiance fueled the shadows? What if their combined power only served to draw the darkness closer? Suddenly, the world shifted. The forest dissolved into a warped expanse of nothingness. They stood on a precipice, the ground beneath them crumbling into a gaping void that stretched infinitely. A swirling black mist churned, beckoning them to surrender, to lean into the dark currents before them. There, Ellie gasped, pointing. From the endless void, a dim glow pulsed, a beacon of brilliance against the impending chaos. If that is the source, we have to reach it. The pulse of light resonated with something deep within Sarah, a sliver of connection that seemed to echo her own heartbeat. "Let us go!" she shouted, every inch of her burning with purpose. With their hearts racing, they surged forward, the darkness seething around them, fighting back with furious intensity. It lashed out, trying to ensnare them in its cold embrace, yet with sheer tenacity they deflected the malevolent tendrils. "Stay together. Don't let go," Sarah screamed as they propelled themselves toward the light that flickered like a dying star. The closer they approached, the more the shadows screeched, a cacophony of anguish reverberating in the air. "You will regret your decision. There is no way back." But Sarah's fear morphed into raw energy. "We don't care. We will find the truth." In one final push, they leapt toward the light, arms outstretched. The searing brightness enveloped them, warmth washing away the frigid tendrils of shadow. It was a feeling like coming home, where the weight of despair lifted and freedom called. But just before they reached the light, it flickered ominously, revealing a twisted reflection that mirrored both hope and doom. "You think you're prepared for the truth?" it taunted, a voice not unlike their own. "You cannot fathom the sacrifice required." The brightness exploded into a kaleidoscopic burst of color and sound, sending shockwaves through them as the shadows screamed. And in that moment, Sarah and Ellie hit the ground, heart pounding, breathless, but it was not over yet. They lay in a chilling silence, but the echo of that confrontation whispered in their minds. The truth was nearer, but so was danger. Would they emerge stronger on the other side, or had they awakened something even darker? Just then, a figure emerged from the light, cloaked and daunting, but the face was obscured. "You come seeking the truth," it said, voice low and resonant. "But are you ready for its price?" The unending question hung heavily in the air, resonating within the very core of their being. What kind of truth awaited them? And what darkness lurked just beyond their reach? The figure stepped closer, the light around it flickering like a dying star. Shadows danced across its form, creating an unsettling aura of uncertainty. Ellie and Sarah exchanged hurried glances, the gravity of the moment settling in like the weight of the world. "Who are you?" Ellie managed to croak, her voice shaky but resolute. "What do you want from us?" The cloaked figure tilted its head, a gesture that felt both curious and condescending. "You have ventured into the abyss, seeking a truth long buried. But be warned, knowledge comes with a cost." The voice was hypnotic, each word dripping with allure and menace. "What kind of cost?" Sarah shot back, her defiance flickering even in the presence of such overwhelming dread. "Sacrifice," the figure whispered, its tone almost a caress. "To uncover what lies beneath, you must relinquish a part of yourselves. One bond must be broken, or will you instead embrace the darkness?" Chills raced up Sarah's spine. "We're not afraid. You think we'd back down after everything we've faced?" The figure's laughter echoed eerily through the void, reverberating like a warning. "Fear not, for you may find your true fear waiting just beyond." And with that, the air around them shimmered. In an instant, the landscape morphed. The shadows transformed into a sprawling room brimming with memories, visions of laughter, tears, and loss flashing in rapid succession, like an old movie reel. "Your pasts," the figure intoned, "will guide you to your truth, but also show you what you're willing to forsake." Before they could process the profound shift, Sarah was engulfed in visions. She saw her parents, arguing frantically in a dimly lit living room, then the haunting emptiness after they left. The pain of abandonment twisted like barbed wire in her chest, sharp and relentless. "Sarah!" Ellie's voice pierced through the murky haze. Don't let it in. Fight it. But the shadows tugged at her heart, weaving tendrils of doubt. What if you never escape this place? They whispered. You are just as lost as they were. No. I'm stronger than this. She shook her head violently, pushing herself back from the edge of despair. Yet each step felt heavier, as if the shadows were pulling her into a deep well of regret. Ellie struggled against her own haunting memories. Visions of her childhood home, the sweet smell of cinnamon and laughter, then shattered into images of her brother's desperate face as he screamed for help. That moment, the one she had buried deep, clawed its way to the surface. I couldn't save him, she gasped, tears streaming down her cheeks. But something ignited within her, a spark of determination. No! This ends now. Then choose. The figure commanded, its voice rumbling like thunder. Choose which bond you're willing to break. Will you cut the ties that tether you to this pain? Sarah's pulse raced. This was just a test of strength. It was a brutal question of identity. Ellie, we can't lose each other. Do you think clinging to me will save you? Ellie shouted through her own turmoil. We need to let go, or we'll be consumed. Heart pounding, Sarah felt her resolve harden. No! Together, we stand. Suddenly, the room began to crumble, memories disintegrating into shards of light and shadow that swirled violently around them. Voices jumbled together into a chaotic chorus of their pasts, thrumming like a heartbeat. Make your choice. The figure shrieked, as the very fabric of reality began to unravel around them. Sarah and Ellie grasped each other as hands, feeling the warmth and strength of their friendship. We fight together. With one last surge of energy, they yelled in unison, we want to be broken. A blinding flash erupted, the light engulfing them both and sending shockwaves rippling through the void. They screamed against the force of the blast, feeling their bodies being pulled apart and refashioned in the wake of their defiance. Just as everything plunged into darkness, a low chuckle echoed in the abyss. You think you've escaped? The truth is waiting, and the price? It's far greater than you know. As silence fell once more, the girls found themselves standing on the precipice once again, breathless but alive. But a new question lingered: had they truly escaped, or had they slipped further into a web of peril? A whisper echoed out of the depths, will you ever be free? The feeling of dread clung to the air, as they realized their fight was just beginning. The shadows writhed around Sarah and Ellie, restless and seething with an energy that defied logic. The darkness buzzed with anticipation. They found themselves teetering on the edge of reality once more. It was as if they were suspended between two worlds, the bright hope they fought for, and the cold despair that lurked behind every shadow. Stay close, Sarah murmured, instinctively tightening her grip on Ellie's hand. We've come too far to let it end here. The pulse of their connected energies ignited a spark of hope, their hearts beating in unison. What now? Ellie asked, desperation creeping into her voice. How do we break this cycle for good? The truth, Sarah breathed, feeling the familiar pull of determination. We need to confront whatever fears we have left. We can push through this. We have to. As if summoned by their resolve, the cloaked figure from earlier materialized before them, gravity swirling around its form. You've defied the darkness, and yet, you stand before it once more, it rasped, each syllable sending ripples of unease through the air. You know the cost of your bravery. Yes, Sarah shouted, her voice ringing with defiance. We're ready for your truth. With that declaration, the figure waved its hand, unraveling the very tapestry of the void around them. Color seeped into nothingness, and memories began to flow like a river. They were vivid, raw, each moment capturing the essence of every fear that had plagued them. Sarah watched scenes flicker and pulse. She saw herself as a child, eyes wide with innocence. Her parents laughed. The warmth of family filled the air like a cherished song. But that light soon faded, morphing into arguments, shouts, and a sorrowful emptiness that echoed through the years. It was heartbreak pulled from the depths of memory, a haunting reminder of what had once been. "Face it," Ellie urged, her voice breaking through Sarah's spiraling thoughts. "We can't let them take us back." Sarah felt an unyielding surge of strength rise in response. "No, I am not my past," she cried, realizing the truth had been hiding in the shadows. "We are the choices we make." And just like that, the ground beneath them quaked, the air whirled with a violent energy as the shadows shrieked in despair. Ellie's own memories flared to life, moments of warmth intertwined with pain. There was her brother, his grin bright and infectious. But the shadow of his absence darkened her heart too deeply to ignore, pulling her down into the depths of sorrow. "I can't let this define me," Ellie shouted, eyes glistening with fierce determination. "We are not alone in this." At that moment, they locked eyes, a silent agreement. Together, they would push beyond fear, past despair. The figure's laughter echoed, mocking their resolve. "You cannot escape the consequences of your choices." Yet Sarah and Ellie stood firm, breathing in each other's determination like a lifeline. "We don't have to be perfect," Sarah asserted, channeling their combined energies into a singular wave of light. "We are enough just as we are." With their hearts harmonizing, an indescribable energy flowed through them, illuminating the darkness with their shared strength. That brilliant light struck outward towards the looming shadows, pushing against the encroaching void. "Feel our love," Sarah and Ellie shouted as one, the radiant energy bursting forth, radiating power like a supernova. The shrieks of the darkness echoed, colliding with their brilliance. Shattered mirrors of forgotten moments fell away, casting fragments of fear into the abyss, where they faded into nothingness. As the light exploded, a calm settled, cradling them softly. For the first time, there was a stillness in the air, a reassuring embrace enveloping their spirits. But just when it seemed the shadows had been vanquished, the cloaked figure emerged once more, comically bemused. "You've merely scattered the dark. New trails now unfurl before you. What do you want from us?" Ellie demanded, a raw power behind her words, a mix of fear, anger, and hope swirling together. "I am a gatekeeper of truth," it explained, voice echoing like thunder. "You've seen the depth of your bonds. The choices you've made have wrought a path. A new chapter waits where darkness lingers, but does not define you. But beware, there are more shadows to confront." Sarah squared her shoulders, heart racing. "Then we'll face them. With every ounce of strength we have." The figure smirked, thrusting a hand towards the horizon where the light began to fade. "Step forth, brave souls. Embrace the unknown." With a shared nod, Sarah and Ellie stepped forward, leaving behind the remnants of a world that had burdened them. The unknown stretched before them. It pulsed with life, vibrant and rich with the promise of more battles to come, but also the chance for healing, growth, and their unbreakable bond. And as they walked into the future together, the shadows lingered, whispering of challenges to face. But in that moment, they chose light. Together, they were unstoppable. They had found the strength in their hearts, and while darkness may exist, it would never again consume them. The truths they had uncovered would guide them like a beacon, drawing them onward. Now, take a moment and remember this story as you move forward in your own life. And don't forget, share this journey with your friends. Subscribe immediately so you won't miss out on the next exclusive tales we uncover together. Smash that like button right now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments with your reactions and predictions for what is to come, because your voice matters in this community. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this incredible conclusion. The next chapter awaits you. Let us walk it together.